Hi there, gang. Dr. J for Breakfast with Dr. J. So thanks for joining me. 7:30 Saturday morning. Anyway, we'll always wonder who's going to be popping on in the wee hours and who's going to watch the replays. I know the replays are sometimes easier to do, but it's really nice if you can join me live. So I hope the week's been terrific. Hello, Valerie. How you going? All right, are we good there? Hope you give us a bit of a thumbs up when you come on. That would be terrific. We're going to have a little bit of chit-chat today about setting the scene early with a bit of tough love. So if you're a manager or you're being managed, we're going to have a little bit of a chinwag about that. Hi there, Sarah. Thanks for joining me this morning. Hope you're all having a cup of tea and coffee, maybe snuggled up in bed. Give me a thumbs up. Say good day. Thanks for joining me. Wow, isn't it incredible? January's nearly over. Well, it's now done. Yesterday I was saying, wow, what's February going to be like? Now it's the 1st of Feb. Well, I've got coffee with Dr. J in about an hour. I'm going to be meeting with some people up in the cafe just around the corner from the office. So the first Saturday of every month, all the SAC members or the Sales Authority Club members come down and we meet up for a one-on-one session. So this is my one-on-one session with our crew, and then we can go down and meet up with some of the guys at the cafe. Hey, Bobby, how you going? And now there is a superstar. Congratulations on an outstanding January, mate. That's just the best. I'd love to know what number, 3-digit number we got to. So we'll get started because I'm sure you've got to have a busy Saturday. Over the last week or two, I've been speaking with a lot of people. And I want to make sure that I just share some management and leadership models with you today, as well as driving your sales. Hi there, Eugene. Oh, gee whiz. Lovely to see you, mate. And I want to make sure that we understand something. We either are all in to do something, or you're all out. Now, what does that mean? I'm just finding there's a lot of people saying they gonna, they wanna, they shoulda. And what happens is they don't either all in and give it a go and actually do it. Oh, I'm going to try. Well, actually, when I hear the word try, that means I'm going to give my subconscious permission to fail. Now, it's okay to fail. And the most successful people in the world are the ones that have failed more often because they give it a go. But guys, I'm seeing quite regularly now this half-baked attitude. Oh, well, I'll do this, but as soon as that but comes in, you're going to smack the but. The but actually stops you from moving forward. So I'm going to start with this. If you're in sales, you're in business, you're in a relationship, you're either all in or you're all out. Don't play games. If you're going to be a salesperson, do the work. Do the work. Don't say, I don't like data, or I don't like the process. Get over it. Do it. If you're going to actually have a business plan, you're going to start up a business, then do the hard stuff first. Do the prep. I was talking to a colleague just yesterday. He's starting up a new business. And I asked him some questions retrospectively about the business protocols, and they're not in place. This is a disaster ready to happen. You're either all in, do it properly, or get off. On the bus, off the buff, whatever you want to call it. Now, I'm going to give you some ideas here, because tough love is sometimes when someone is going to give you some things that you don't want to hear. But when I say it's tough love, it's done with the intention and coming from a place of love, not coming from a place of dictatorship. Now, there's a big difference there. You're coming from a place of caring, and I'm going to give you the hard yards or give you the wake-up call. People will accept it more. Sure, disappointing to get a little bit of a constructive feedback. But guys, sometimes you've got to do it strongly, because a nice softly approach just doesn't work. So I'm going to give you some ways to play here. Hi there, Lloyd. How you going? Good to see you, my friend. Well, the first thing is if you don't want to be 100% in, then you got to be 100% out. Now, if you've got a team, managing a team, you either change the people or change the attitude or change the people. Now, that sounds really crass. It's not my way. But guys, if the people are not going to fit into the mold and actually be able to do the process, or maybe not actually do it perfectly correct, but they're going to drive and actually are on the same page, well, they shouldn't be on the team. If you've got these people that don't want to be there and they're just there to fill in the hours, I'm sure you know what I mean. The next thing I want to make sure we're clear on, make sure that if you're going to set the scene, have clear, concise outcomes and activities. Clear, concise activities and outcomes that are required. In other words, what are they going to do? And how it's going to be accountable. Now, the word accountability is bantered around quite regularly these days, but people just don't get it. Accountability is not just micromanagement. People say, oh, I don't like micromanagement. Guys, accountability is someone that cares about that person's success or getting the things done for the business or both. Now, we've all, I know I can put my hand up, we've all been lax in accountability and giving people autonomy. Autonomy can be a bad thing. Autonomy can actually give the person a false sense of security. So that's not setting the scene properly. Accountability and setting the scene properly, having the activities and outcomes, which are not negotiable, need to be set from the get-go. Now, if they're either all in or they're all out. Oh, I don't want to do that many calls, or I'll only get 90% done, and that's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. And if you let it to be okay without putting the task, and again, I'll put my hand up. Sometimes you say, oh, I don't want to be tough on the person. It's not nice. But hang on a tick. You've had an agreement that was the BAM, the bare ass minimum. You've got to drive it. Someone's got to take control. You either take control of yourself or you give someone permission to drive you. Next thing is I want to make sure that you understand what a BAM is. A BAM is a bare ass minimum. That's the minimum requirement to be doing that activity or that job. You're going to set a certain number of calls, certain number of contacts, certain number of appointments you need to make per day and per week. That is called a minimum. Some people just go for their minimum. Well, they're 95%ers. The people that actually drive for BAM Plus, in other words, I'm going to do more than what I'm just required to do. They're the ones that are going to drive your business and themselves to success. But please hold sturdy on your BAM. Minimums mean minimum, not it's okay to be under minimum. Do you understand? And you got to pull people up. You got to call people on it. Call yourself on it. Gee, I didn't do my minimums. Ugh, give myself an uppercut. That's because you're not accountable to somebody if you're a solo warrior. If you're a manager or team leader, hold your team accountable to their BAMs. Next thing is I want to make sure that we have the minimums and make sure that you understand that your team take ownership of them. Say, hey, these are the minimums. You think it's doable. If they say, oh, I want to change it a little bit, so let them have a little bit of autonomy to change it, but then set them. If it's a little bit too weak, then say, oh, we'll do that for the first 2 weeks and we'll ramp it up afterwards, because based on the percentages, historically, we need that much activity to be done. So get agreement that you're all on the same page and then drive those BAMs. And the last thing I want to make sure we're clear on and make sure that we understand it. When you're a manager, if you want to set the scene right, if you're a sales manager, you're going to be a team leader. Becoming your team's best friend is doing them a disservice. If you want to actually drive a team and you're a manager or a leader, I want you to go in there and build rapport, get respect. Obviously, have respect and make sure that you know what's important to them. And once you've established those sorts of things, don't become their best mate. It's a massive mistake because you can't Because, I can draw a line in the sand, but it's too black. It's too changeable. It's like, oh my goodness, it was the best mate a few moments ago. Now he's giving me a reprimand. So we can't be a best mate. You got to have strength of purpose. So make sure you're clear on what your ideals are. Make sure you set your parameters and stand strong. Be a fair man or woman. Explain what you're doing and why, but stand strong. Don't cave in with a little bit of pressure. Stand strong. They will test you. And then when you have BAMs and things like that and they've agreed to them, drive the activity. Sure, when people have things that are not working at home and so forth, you have to be compassionate to find out what that is. But remember, we still have the bare ass minimums to actually achieve. The last thing before we go any further is if you want to set the scene, if you're the team leader, you got to walk the talk. Oh, yes. Don't just say, you got to do this and you got to do that. Walk the talk. Nothing is more inspiring than someone that actually leads from the front. And if you're a team leader, lead from the front. Walk your talk. Don't just tell them to do. Let's do it together. I'll show you how. And then hand the baton over. So this is quite critical. I spent a bit of time to make sure you're really clear on setting the scene. Once we've set the scene, the next thing is I want to make sure that we understand the process of noise. I hear it regularly with sales professionals, managers, owners, directors, and they come up with this big, long, noisy conversation, which is non-specific, and it's a little bit of blah, blah, blah. You say, gee, this is a bit disrespectful, Steve. No, it's not. It's the truth. I want to make sure you're really clear on something here. When I say noise, it's actually people that are being non-specific about stuff, no dates, no deadlines, no activity conversations, say, we'll get this sorted, we've got to get this thing done. And all of a sudden we say, oh, look, we're going to do 2,500 this week. It's going to be amazing. It's all noise. There's no process in place. There's nothing that can be inspected. We can't actually review it. Let people get excited about things, sure, but the specificity makes things real. So people overstate things. As a team leader or as a person that wants to make sure there's a reality, check in and make sure it's real. Number two, make sure that you confirm that people know what to do. After all the noise is done, just make sure that the specificity is done and they know what to do. They've had their training, they've had their coaching. You've confirmed they can do the activity, or you've confirmed you know how to do the activity, and then get to work. Enthusiasm can get you so far, but it's actually an outcome-based business. You've got to do stuff. Non-specific dialogue will always get you unstuck. Now, once you've actually got rid of the noise, you've got some specificity and making sure that you've established accountability. You've now got to do something which is quite critical. If you want to get either on the bus, you're in or you're out. If you're in, you've got to listen to what your people are saying. I find this happens all the time, guys. It's quite profound. It's quite profound. One of the big challenges is people say, oh, I want to do this. I want to achieve this. I've got this great big goal. But their actions, the things they do on a daily basis, do not match up to their desire. I want to earn this much money. I want to be a this and I want to own that. Oh, terrific. There's your BAMs. There are minimums. And it just astounds me that all these people that say they want to achieve all this stuff and it's just noise because their actions do not measure up to their desire. Effort, doing things differently, raising the bar, asking for coaching, doing the role playing. You know, you've seen those 5%ers. Are you one of them? If you are, terrific. But if you're a noisemaker and so forth, this is a check-in. Just get on or get off. Don't pretend to do sales. Don't pretend to be a manager and just give it lip service. And I'm seeing it quite regularly. These would-be's if they could-be's, and they actually say that they're going to all the noise, but there's no action, there's no effort. They got a 9-to-5 mentality. Oh, well, this took place. There's always an excuse. Give me a break. If I had to do, $50 in a day, or if I needed to do $150 in a day, there would be no way in sundry why I wouldn't do it unless my fingers got broken or something dramatic took place. I would get it done. That's me. But you've got to make sure you have the same type of people around you. Obviously, those minimums need to be fair and reasonable. But if you don't inspect it, it won't get done. So if you inspect it, you'll probably more than likely have a higher outcome. But remember, when people do make the noise and their actions, their work, did not measure their desire, you've got to pull them up on it. You've got to say, hang on a tick, you said you wanted to do this. You haven't even done your minimums for 2 days in a row. Didn't we agree to do this? What's going on? How can I help you? So raise the bar and make sure that we're on track with this, because ultimately you've got to ask yourself the what, how questions. Now, every time you have pushback, every time you actually have, let's say, an argument with a team member or even with yourself, or to give you justification, is because you have an opinion. What I'm going to suggest you do here. Hello, Lynn. Oh, my goodness. What a lovely surprise. Hi, guys. I've known Lynn for years. My good. Thanks for joining me. The what, how process allows you to have a conversation which is based on the other person's opinion. If you want to drive people, and making sure that their actions measure up to their desire, and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, you've got to call them on it. What are we going to do to make sure this happens? How are we going to get this result if you're not doing your BAMs? Ask them the questions. Don't tell them, do more calls, make more this. If you do a tell process with yourself or with your team, you're going to get pushback. Someone hasn't done their BAM. Okay, what was the BAM? What? Oh, the BAM was 200. And what did you do? I did 190. How are we supposed to achieve the goal set if we don't make the BAM? Oh, because. What was the agreement? 200. What are we going to do differently to make sure we don't have this conversation tomorrow? Oh, blah, blah, blah. How are we going to catch up on the 10 that we didn't do today? I'll do it first thing in the morning. Oh, terrific. What type of help do you need? I don't need any help. All right, well, how often should I check in with you tomorrow? Oh, I don't need to check in. Well, given that we had we didn't do it today, what time should I check with you tomorrow? Oh, 2 o'clock. Terrific. And how are we going to celebrate when we're done? Now, let's go have a coffee on me. No opinion, was there? No opinion. What, how protocol for a team leader or someone who wants to drive the BAM, get rid of the noise, get them on the bus or off the bus. You've got to call people on non-performance, no effort. You've got to call them. Now, the way to actually fix this is making sure you got on the same page. Before you start doing all this sort of stuff, you've got to make sure that your team members are on the same page, or the person that your mentor is on the same page. Can we drive this hard? Can we do the damage, so to speak? So it has to be an alignment. When a goal or a process is not aligned, that's when you have a challenge. So got to get on the same page. Number 2, the same page strategy works when there's conversation, not a telling. Sure, there needs to be things that need to be in place for the business, and based on historical numbers, they're the things that need to take place. But you've got to make sure that you've explained them. Next thing is, make sure you have people in your team that has a do whatever it takes attitude, a can do whatever it takes attitude. Guys, sales professionals that do not have a do whatever it takes attitude are usually going to only do the BAMs or under BAM. BAM means bare ass minimum. A do whatever it takes attitude is what is required. Not this, oh, well, I've only got this. I'm going to be, dashing off to to ballet or whatever the case may be, a do whatever it takes attitude and a can do has to be in place. Because if it's not, the things won't get done. Halfway. You're not half in an aeroplane. You're not half out of an aeroplane. You're either in or you're out. Are you in or you're out? These are the minimums. How much more of the minimums are you going to do? Guys, you've got to work hard. And then when you've worked hard, then enjoy the fruits of your labor. Sales is the highest paid hard work and the lowest paid easy work in the world. But we have to do the work. If you're a manager or team leader, sometimes you're going to have the hard chat, the tough talk, the tough love, because you care about the person's results, you care about the business, and you have to drive. If the person's not giving you the effort and just giving you lip service, making the noise, they're just taking the mickey out of you. Yeah. Or they're sending you numbers which are just under BAM. Are you serious? Are you serious? You send me a number just under BAM? Out of all the things in the world that people just take just 3 or 4 under a minimum dials or a minimum number of appointments for the week, I mean, that's just taking the mickey. It's just taking granted of your nature. And by the way, if that's happening, you've allowed it to. It's not the other person's fault. If you're a team leader, you've allowed it to. You haven't had the tough conversation. You haven't called them on their BAM. BAM is minimum. We should always doing BAM plus. So to wrap up, how do we fix all this? Well, the first thing is you've got to get permission to have the conversation. Hey, these are the BAMs. I'm going to call you on if we're not onto it. Okay for that? They go, yep. Okay, well, we'll check on this every day. Terrific. Next thing is we're going to make sure that you have a public scorecard. What's that all about? A public scorecard is gold. Because what a public scorecard does, it says, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I've done good. But when you have a wobbly day or wobbly week, they go, oh my goodness. It's not just a little secret between me and the boss. The whole team, the whole sales team, or the small group of people that work in the business know that, oh, I didn't do my BAMs. They're going to not to embarrass anybody to say, why did you do it? That's a private conversation, but you're going to have that conversation anyway, aren't you? What, how? But make sure there's a scorecard. Don't have a scorecard, then how can you measure anything? But make sure that you actually get permission to have this conversation. Hey, if we don't do the BAMs, we'll call you on it, okay? I'm sure that won't happen. But we need to do these minimums, all right? Yep. Okay. Are we agreed to those minimums? Yes. Great. So let's make sure we celebrate. I don't have to call you on it. So stand strong. Like I said earlier, stand strong. Have respect. Coach, train, mentor. But call people on if they're not putting in the effort or not actually doing what they said they're going to do. Integrity. Tough love is love. It's not a grumpy person being a dictator. Put these things into practice and actually you'll be able to kick some goals. And ultimately, implementation after training is critical. If a salesperson is failing, they don't want to fail. They're either not doing the work or they're not trained enough. And sometimes from management point of view, they think they know it. You think they know it, but they need training. Sales is continually evolving. If you haven't changed your sales model within the last 12 months, it's going to be dated. It's just like your operating system on your computer. Sooner or later, it's going to stop. All right. So my question to you is, what are you going to implement? What are you going to put into practice? How are you going to set the scene early and making sure you got your KPIs and the rules and your protocols and accountability in place? Who are you accountable to? Number 2. Are you guilty of noise? Are you guilty of having that noise where you just have all this chitter chatter to fluff the feathers to sound good, but actually don't follow through? Get rid of the noise. Specificity will make things real. Measure your actions versus your desire. Does it match? Does your team match? If the people have this desire, but their actions don't match, call them on it. Hey, you say you want to do this, you're supposed to do that. You're only doing minimums or under minimums on a day-to-day basis. What's going on? You want to be rich, you want to be income generated, but they're not doing their BAMs. Are you serious? Call them on it. Same page strategy, that's pretty easy, and make sure you get permission. And let me tell you, you put these things into place, watch things change. Tough love, not from a place of dictatorship, from a place of I care about your results and my business. Okay, well, I'm Dr. J. I hope you put some stuff into action. Let me know, put it in the comments. We'll catch you later, next Saturday, 7:30, for Breakfast with Dr. J. Bye for now.